Greetings, folks, and welcome to Virtual Realms. I'm Ranger 1. The holidays are always a pretty busy time for me, and I haven't had much time at all to play several of the games that I enjoy, including, unfortunately, Armored Warfare. So I decided that I was going to go ahead and jump in and play a couple of matches to get warmed up again in the Leopard 1. Now, for better or for worse, the first match out is a PvP match. If I'm a little rusty, you'll have to bear with me. I've always found that the Leopard plays best if you try to exercise a bit of caution. It doesn't have a whole lot of armor, but it has an extremely accurate gun. And if you keep out of harm's way long enough, you can put it to some pretty good use. As I close with the enemy, I want to touch on a couple of points here and there that I've been meaning to talk about in this channel. Ignore the fact that I completely blew that shot. It never happened. The main thing that I wanted to touch upon is we've been pretty fortunate. In all the games that I cover, most of the user comments have been very, very constructive and very positive. And that's probably mostly indicative of the fact that it's a relatively small channel. The larger a channel gets, the more vitriolic the comment section tends to be. And I understand that. It happens. People get defensive. More trolls are attracted. And not that all negative comments are trollish. No, there's often constructive criticism, or perhaps an abrasive pointing out of a mistake that I've made. It does happen. It happens to everybody. But I have noticed a few comments here and there that are of a nature that made me want to comment on them. A few people get very defensive about their favorite game in a particular genre. In this case, tank games. Now we've got this modern warfare game set in the very near future, Armored Warfare. And I think it's got a lot of merit. I do enjoy playing it when I have time. And then we've got, of course, a selection of World War II based games in the tank genre, including World of Tanks, of course, and War Thunder, both of which I feel are excellent games in their own right, for very different reasons. Each one brings something different to the table. They all deal with tanks, for the most part. War Thunder deals with aerial battles as well, and I think that's outstanding. And they do it very well. I enjoy all these games, and I think that probably the vast majority of my viewers have at one time or another played more than one of those games and enjoyed them. There really isn't any reason to get super defensive about one game being better than the other and another game being trash because it's slightly different. Everyone's got their preferences, and that's more than okay. But you don't have to be really jerky to people that tend to prefer another one. There's no point to it. Everyone's tastes are different. And that's why I try and cover a lot of different games in this channel. And not all of them are the same genre. I don't cover only tank games, or combat games for that matter. I'm branching out into survival games, which I think a lot of the people that watch my channel, I have a fairly definite core of very young players and rather old players, as well as that main group right there in the middle too, in their 20s and 30s, which I think is outstanding. But if you are of an age group where you have kids of your own, one of the other series that you may never have looked at that I do is on a silly little game called Ark Survival Evolved. If you have kids, youngish kids, 6, 10, maybe even a little older than that, a lot of the content that I put into that in this second season that I'm in with Ark Survival Evolved is kind of intended for the kids. There's a lot of humor in there too for the adults. It'll go right over the kids' heads, and I think you'll find it enjoyable as well. It's very, very tongue-in-cheek. It's done like a bizarre bedtime story, if you will. And I kind of get to put on the role-playing hat. Yes, I use the dreaded R word. The role-playing hat to play a I don't know, egotistical do-gooder that in reality is just out to further his own ends, but likes to pretend that he's the savior of all things that walk, swim, or fly. And that his animal companions are incredibly loyal when in fact, of course, they don't really care about me at all. Your kids may find it enjoyable. It's an interesting game. It's a bizarre game that's full of extinct animals on a bizarre habitat known as the Ark. Have them give it a try. Well, watch it yourself first and see if it's something that you want your kids to view. But if you think it's amusing and they might like it, please feel free to have them go ahead and watch one once in a while. I don't put them out very often, but I do one whenever I can. And you might find it amusing as well. But be warned, if you let your kids watch the video, they will probably start pestering you to get the game and play it themselves. Which is perfectly fine, but I would definitely recommend playing on a private server or letting them play single player at first. The PvP servers for that game can get a little cutthroat in some cases. Not all, if you find a good server and a good group of people, but you know how that goes. But if you do let them watch, have them watch Season 2, the current season that I'm working on. Season 1 is more adult-oriented, more PvP combat. I was running around with N-Tech for a while, and his group of guys, and there was some PvP, and I edited out the stronger language, but still, the youngsters would find it fairly boring. Although you might enjoy it. Back to the original point, though. In chat, watching my videos, just keep in mind we're all gamers here. We all have our own preferences. Everyone likes certain videos over others, certain games over others. Just please do me a favor, keep it friendly. There's no need to get mean with anyone else just because you happen to have a minor difference in taste. And while I'm at it, let me take the opportunity to say thank you to the vast majority of the people that watch my videos for being so congenial and so welcoming to other members of the community, I guess my community. And we very, very rarely have an issue of any type along that line. And I do consider myself very fortunate to be blessed with such a warm and gracious subscriber base. Well, that match didn't go too badly. It was a little clumsy, but I had 3 kills by the end of it, so I think it was worthwhile. And then I decided to go ahead and play a little PvE. Now, I'm not normally a big PvE player, but Armored Warfare has a fairly unique PvE system in place that I kind of enjoy. The last patch that they had introduced some new missions, and I haven't seen any of them yet. As I said, I haven't had much of a chance to play, well, really anything at all here lately, and in particular Armored Warfare. So I wanted to check out a few of them and see if they were worthwhile, and I was not disappointed. Now, normally the Leopard is not what I would consider a great vehicle for these PvE missions. I mean, the more damage you can do in them, the better, or being highly mobile. The Leopard is somewhere in between. It does good damage and has a high degree of accuracy, but it lacks the takedown power of some of the other main battle tanks. So you have to play a little cautiously, and that means you tend to not get as many kills as the other guys. And I knew this going into the match. But the way they've laid out this map, the way the placement of the AI vehicles, with the way they spawned onto the map and when they spawned in, well, it's been randomized quite a bit from when I first started playing these matches a long time ago. And they've made a lot of improvements, and I was fairly impressed with it. You'll notice that, well, you're going to get surrounded at different points. Sometimes they'll fire at you from off the map. You really can't approach them too closely. These fellas were just on the edge of the map, though, but it would have been very difficult to close with them from where I was at. But not that we needed to, but, well, it was kind of interesting that they cut in behind us like that. It definitely gave you the sense that you were being approached by hostile forces on all sides. As you watch this mission, it is probably going to be painfully apparent that I had absolutely no idea where the enemy was going to come from. And frankly, I enjoy that. And the fact that they've randomized these spawns to a degree means that you can't just memorize the direction the enemy's going to spawn next. Well, maybe to a small degree, but not to the extent that you could originally. The game can change it up on you when you least expect it, and that's very refreshing. That adds a lot of replayability to their PvE scenarios. While I meander through this mission and just kind of prowling around in the Leopard 1, I did want to take the opportunity to talk about one other thing that has been bothering me a little bit, and it's related to the other subjects. I've mentioned this before, but it's been a long time. You guys are great, and I get a lot of friend requests in different types of games. Games that are on Steam, like Ark Survival Evolved, and an upcoming one that I am probably going to be spending some time covering, which is Homeworld Deserts of Karak. Anything on Steam, well, I really get a lot of friend invites there. And because about the only time I get to play now is when I'm actually recording, I tend to click the button to ignore those requests. I hate looking at them because I kind of feel bad because I can't really accept those. Whenever I accept friend invites, Steam tends to pop notifications up while I'm trying to record. It causes a lot of interruptions. It costs me a lot of time, and I may only have one evening free to play a given game and hopefully get some decent footage to show you guys. And, well, I just can't. I can't do that. And it makes me feel like a big heel sometimes because I really would enjoy playing with you guys, and I deeply appreciate the invites and the friend requests. And it makes me feel really ungrateful when I don't accept them. If I weren't doing these videos, I would happily accept each and every single one. Or if I maybe was retired and was doing these videos full time, maybe I could work something out. Because not all of my waking hours would be spent, just playing games for the purposes of making a video and producing content for you. A lot of that time perhaps could be spent just playing the game. And I don't get to do that very often. And I'm not complaining about that. I get just as much, if not more, enjoyment bringing videos to you than I do ever playing the game just for the sake of playing the game. But I really feel like a jerk sometimes for hitting that ignore button. And I just want to apologize to you for that, and I hope that you understand that. I've also had fellow YouTubers that have asked me to run with them, and I need to do that, but my schedule has been so chaotic. I can't be available when I would like to be available to do that. Either there's a time zone difference, or I'll set aside time on a given night to do it, and inevitably something with the family or my personal life will come up, and it'll keep me from being where I intended to be. Or if I do show up, it's not for long enough to really get anything accomplished. So, for my friends in the YouTube community, I offer the apology to them as well. They probably think that I'm a big snob, and it's not really intended that way. I hate making promises that I may not be able to keep, and that's just the way my life is going right now when it comes to scheduling time to game with other folks. So I hope that you'll indulge me and forgive me for that. Well, this episode has become a little bit weird. I'm just kind of rambling along, going over some things that I'd wanted to talk about for a while, and I hope that's okay with you. In this match, we're getting down to the final moments. I'm going to drive forward and get myself fairly well surrounded, but I've got a really good team with me, and it's going to work out okay. The action's actually pretty good. But I did want to talk about one last thing, I promise. I took a night to actually do something with the family. I haven't had a chance to really do a whole lot of that outside of like the holiday stuff. We haven't just gone out to a movie in a very long time. And, well, I took my wife and my kids that are here at home. I took them out to go see Star Wars. Don't worry, there are no real spoilers that I'm going to mention here, but I've got to point out two things. Number one, when did stormtroopers learn how to shoot straight? Because, like, damn. And number two, when did rebel pilots become such badasses? Pardon me for saying that. That was kind of unexpected. They've really got kind of a Top Gun vibe going on with those guys now that I really kind of like. They were always competent in the past, but, well, for someone that's holding out, outnumbered and out-equipped against the Empire in the original movies, you know, they always appeared a little bit reserved, very professional. Maybe that's exactly what they were going for, but now, wow, you really find yourself rooting for those pilots because they're doing a damn fine job, and you can see why the rebellion did so well all along if they have such spirit. The movie's masterfully done. Yeah, there were one or two things in the movie that got me. I'm not going to say I disliked them, but emotionally got me. And I didn't expect that either. Not out of a Star Wars movie. I found myself in one scene in particular really genuinely upset. And I liked what was done and why it was done and how it was done, but it got me emotionally. And more than a few eyes were pretty wet in the audience. I'm not going to say any more than that. But it is probably, in my opinion, and it's easy to say this right after you see a show and you're kind of hyped about it, and you kind of got that excitement curve going there to say, wow, that's the best one out of the series. But the more I think about it, that may very well be the best Star Wars movie that has been made to date. And that's saying a lot. Well, forgive me for talking your ear off this episode. As I said, I know it's kind of an odd episode, but thanks for bearing with me. And until I see you again, good hunting. Thanks for watching. I hope you were entertained. If you liked the video, please remember to subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you. And I'll see you next time.